Fala galera, bem-vindos aqui ao live da Luba, mais uma vez, obrigada por estarem aqui. Hoje a entrevista vai ser em inglês, mas espero que vocês possam ficar até o final. Quem não entender, a gente pode tentar depois botar um subtitles para poderem ver depois, mas espero que vocês todos possam ficar com a gente hoje, porque a entrevista vai ser incrível com a Christy Nicolay, que é uma produtora executiva de eventos internacionais, tem mais de 20 anos de experiência. Vai ser um papo incrível. Eu tive a oportunidade de trabalhar com ela muitas vezes, inclusive esse ano, nos Jogos Olímpicos Juvenis, na Suíça, em Lausanne 2020. E vai ser um papo incrível, portanto, fiquem aqui, ok? Então agora eu vou começar a falar inglês com a Christy, que já está em Palm Springs. Ela vai estar falando com a gente de Palm Springs, na Califórnia. E, por favor, fiquem com a gente, ok? So, guys, thank you so much for being here. Christy Nicolay. Hello, Christy, are you there?
Yes, hi guys.
Hello!
I don't know what you just said, but eu ainda estou aprendendo português.
Yes, I know, and you're learning fast. Hopefully next time we can do it in Portuguese, the interview. So now I was just saying how great it's going to be this interview. I'm very excited to interview you today. I was saying that you have more than 20 years of experience in the sports industry. You're like the most prolific international executive producer with more than, I don't know how many Olympic Games, Pan American Games, all kinds of sports events around the world. So we're going to talk about that. But also I'd love to start asking, how did you start your career? How did you get involved in the sports industry? And I know you're like a big sports fan. You have this love of sports, and you got involved kind of obsessed, I think, with the Olympic in 1986 or 76, and then that's
Yeah.
how you started with the whole right? So
Yeah.
tell us about it.
Okay, so yes, I grew up with I grew up in Oregon, first of all, not California, but I grew up with all brothers and all boys in my neighborhood. And I think, because of that, my dad made me do every sport. So I played basketball, I played baseball, I did gymnastics, I skateboarded, I rode motocross. I wasn't too good at that, but I did pretty much every sport that you can imagine, so I could keep up with the boys. So I always had a love of sports, and didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. I just knew that I love sports. I've always been obsessed with traveling. I used to wait for the Sunday paper to arrive so I could look through the travel section and see where I could one day wanted to go. And then one time my family took a trip to Southern California, to Hollywood, and I got to see behind the scenes of a TV show called Chips, and I became fascinated with production. So somehow I just knew that I loved all of those things, and I don't know how you sometimes, when you just follow doing what you love, you kind of manifest. I manifested into the perfect job in the world.
So you consider your job the perfect job, right? The dream job.
I have the best job, yes, for sure.
That's awesome. And yes, and you manifested and you achieved and you accomplished. But everything started in 1976, if I'm not mistaken, right? The Olympic Games in 19... and because
well,
of
for Olympic Games.
Nadia Comaneci.
Nadia Comaneci, yes. I was a gymnast from the time that I was 4 years old. So yes, I became a little bit obsessed with Nadia Comaneci and always wanted to to be her. And I think that was when I first started watching the Olympic Games. And then by the time the Olympic Games were in it was 1984 when they were in Los Angeles. I was not working. I mean, I was in high school still, so I did not work those ones. But my very first Olympic Games were in Sydney in 2000, and I worked there. I worked for NBC in Sydney.
So in Sydney, we start at NBC, not in sports presentation. But then after that, you start working in the Olympic Games in 2002 as a sports presentation producer, right? Can you
Yeah, so
explain
well, I
what is sports presentation?
yeah, yeah, sure. So, I mean, sport presentation, sport production, live event production, day of game entertainment, it's all kind of the same thing. I had already been doing what we now call sport presentation for the X Games, which is where you and I met a long million years
Yes,
ago. Um, but
exactly.
I was the, not to date us, but yeah, I was doing a live event production for the X Games from around like, I guess it was like 96 to 99-ish in there. And then NBC created a show called The Gravity Games, which was also an action sports show. And I hated to leave X Games because like I really loved everyone there. I loved everyone at ESPN. But I did always kind of have Olympic Games in the back of my mind, and I guess I kind of thought, well, if I go over to NBC Gravity Games, like maybe someone will take me to the Olympic Games to Sydney, and that paid off. So that's how I got over there. And when I got to Sydney, I found out that what I do is called sport presentation. But somebody else was doing it in Sydney, and then I started doing it in Salt Lake 2002, where I was the executive producer of sport presentation for the Olympic Games, and you asked me what it is, so I guess I kind of didn't answer that. But what it is, it's it's everything that you see and hear when you when a spectator enters a competition venue. So it's all of the music and the announce and the video production on the big screens and the entertainment and also the victory ceremonies we sometimes do. So it's for me it's like all the fun stuff around a sport event.
And it really enhances the whole experience, not just for the fans, but also for the athletes, right?
Of course, yeah. I mean, first we're there for the athletes, and then of course, the spectators as well. But also for, if it's an Olympic Games, also for the IOC or Paralympic Games for the IPC, and also for the international federations, because we always want to, protect their brand and deliver the show in the way that that they expect. And then also for broadcast, like we always say that we create the atmosphere that broadcast captures and sends around the world. And we really like, we want everyone that's like watching the sports on TV to like wish they were there live. And so that's kind of always our goal in sport presentation.
And I mean, because we work has been a great pleasure. But for people that don't understand, that listen to us, that they kind of trying to figure out but how it actually that really works. I mean, it takes a village, so it's like lots of people to to work in this environment to enhance the competition for athletes, for spectators, and for people at home because of the broadcast as well. Because so for people to understand, like if you're watching it from home, for instance, and then you see the crowd dancing, having fun with the mascot or something, it's because sports presentation is helping that to happen, right? Can you really explain a little bit more for people to understand? Because for us, it's kind of easy to okay, that's what we do, but people don't know exactly how that works.
Right. Yeah, well, we're always trying to, engage the crowd. We always, we sometimes we have to educate them about the sport. We're always trying to be interactive. I mean, the last thing we want is for the TV cameras to pan the crowd and, have everybody looking at their cell phones. So we never want that. We want them to like be watching the athletes, supporting the athletes. So we do a lot. To make that happen, and everything from the music to the video production. Sometimes we explain the sport prior to whatever sport it is happening. We do a lot of things where people can follow along and also kind of interact and I mean every sport is different, so it's hard to give like a specific example because we do different things for different sports.
And for the Olympic Games, for instance, you've been, how many Olympics you've done already, Christy?
Oh boy. So if we count Lausanne 2020, which was a youth Olympic Games, that was my 10th Olympic Games. But also we did executive produce two Pan American Games. So one in Rio 2007, where you also were, and Lima 2019, where you also were,
Yes.
and then I also have done an Arab Games in Doha, which was really fun. That was in 2011. But yeah, mostly Olympic Games and other sports. I do all sports all the time. So I did, I don't know, 5 years of the U.S. Open of tennis. I do, well, not now because of the pandemic, but we're doing the BNP Paribas in Indian Wells, the tennis there as well. I've done heaps of skateboarding, snowboarding, U.S. Open of snowboarding for the Burton U.S. Open of snowboarding. So I've even done bass fishing. One time I produced the two times actually the
Yes, so
Bassmaster
all kinds
Classic.
of sports.
Yeah. So yeah, the Bassmaster Classic was 90,000 people watching fish be weighed. So I'll do any sport.
Wow. So we were talking about the pandemic. Of course, we have to talk about this. And the sports industry in general has been affected, like, one of the most industries that they affected, like entertainment, of course, but also sports, mainly sports, actually, because we cannot have spectators, we cannot have fans in stadiums anymore, and things are changing. I mean, how do you see the future of sports presentation and sports in general? You that have been in the industry for so many years and decades now, but also like you were in the middle of the pandemic in Athens, and you were able to do sports presentation. And I want you to talk about that also, because in the middle of the pandemic, you also were able to kind of find a way of still doing your job and kind of engaging the athletes with what you're doing. And it was a beautiful event. So how was that experience, if you considering where you the moment we're living right now, with the whole pandemic in 2020?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we were really lucky to to do that event in Athens. I think if it had been like a week, later or 2 weeks later, we probably wouldn't have made it. But yeah, we did for the Basketball Champions League, which is the European teams. The event was supposed to be first in Jerusalem, and luckily got moved to Athens because I don't think it could have happened in Jerusalem. But we just did, we got to go there and we did all of the player headshots. So it was the final eight. So there were 8 teams of 12, so 96 players. And because we didn't really know till the last minute if there was going to be fans or not, but they had made the decision, like, even with no fans, we're still going to put on a great show for the players and also for broadcast. So we really shifted our focus on to, okay, what can we do to make it, make the athletes feel like rock stars, and what can we do so that it just looks amazing on the broadcast? And so really we just put all of our attention on what we called a players tunnel. So we had 7 LED boards that we used to create kind of a players tunnel, and we did moving headshots, the type of athlete headshots where you capture the athlete's personality. There's smoke and great we didn't do the music and the announce there. There was already an in-house sport presentation team, but also like the lighting was done really well. So everything that we all just we were one big team that just worked together, and I think that it ended up looking amazing on television. And I know that the athletes really enjoyed it because we were we were in a bubble, so we could only go from the Hilton Hotel to the venue, and so all the players were also in the bubble with us. And I would see them in the elevator, and they were like, we received a lot of comments that like, hey, thank you so much, I loved running through the tunnel. They loved their headshots. There was also this application called Crowd Amp.
That's great.
Where fans of the teams could record themselves, like applauding. And so we also like put that on the video board. So the players were like, it seemed like they were running through a crowd. So I think it was sad that we didn't have fans there, but I think the atmosphere was still amazing, and we were still like also grateful that we got to go do what we love doing. So yeah.
I know it's really, it was a blast because, in the middle of the pandemic, we were able to do that. It's really, yeah, it definitely. And I'm sure it was something that for you has this, even it made you even more happy of what you do. And I'm sure it was like you said, like paid off because we didn't even know if we would be able to do this right now, like in this crazy world we're living in. And I saw some of the footage, and the athletes, they seem to have they were having fun while you're shooting them, while you're just, and so I'm sure it's for you is also like that's when you feel like, okay, it was an amazing job. We were able to put off like with this whole situation, and we were able to find a way of making it, and it was a great thing for the broadcast, like you said. I'm sure for people at home, it was an amazing to watch that with the smoke and the tunnel and everything. And also you could see like the athletes, the players were having a lot of fun. So I'm sure that was a great experience for you this year in this moment, difficult times we're living.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun, and yeah, it was the players were um some of them, yeah, it was just so fun, like trying to get them to dance and or to show their personality, or it was yeah. So I guess you saw the behind the scenes footage of the shoot. So yeah, it was great to do
Yes,
that.
I
And
did. It
sorry,
was so much fun.
yeah, and sorry for the pups. Did you did you did you hear them
That's
barking?
okay. They
Sorry.
woke up. I can
Okay.
see they woke up. They just woke up. That's okay.
They will. Yep.
Um, so
Anyway.
this year, I mean, we were able to do Lausanne 2020, which was probably the last big event, one of the last big events before the world kind of shut down, right? And then you were lucky enough to be able to do Athens. How do you see from now? I mean, what you can expect? How do you see the sports world and sports presentation, of course, going? I mean, you said that you guys are focusing on people at home, the broadcast, and the athletes, the players. Do you think that's going to be the new normal for the next months or maybe a year from now? How do you see that?
It's really difficult to tell. I mean, I did so yeah, we kicked off the year with Lausanne 2020, which was so much fun, and I really thought it was going to be, the best year ever. Of course, that was wrong. Somebody asked me the same question, and I really thought, I thought by that was in March, and I thought like by September we were all going to be super busy and like even more busy, so that everything was going to overlap. So I was really enjoying the time and the break, and was telling, everyone that's on my team is like, hey, just, just relax, just use the time to rest up and be ready. So obviously it was super wrong about that. And I wouldn't want to, give another prediction, because I guess on the optimistic side, I felt like, oh, this event in Athens, like we were really going to kick everything off, and I thought we are going to be like super busy after that. Now, I would say like almost everything that I'm working on has been postponed till 2021, mid 2021 or later. So as far as like the live element of doing sport presentation, it's hard to say, and every sport is different. Already here in the U.S., we have NFL is back, and I don't do that, but many of the people in my company do NFL, and we do Super Bowl, of course, and every team is different. I mean, some teams have player or like cutouts of fans mixed in the crowd along with real people. Some teams have no fans. Some teams have reduced capacity of fans. So there's just like different things that people are trying, and I would say like everyone's getting really innovative, and yeah, it's crazy. We're just now gearing up to do the NBA draft. So we did the NFL draft virtually, which the NFL draft, if you don't know, is like, I mean, I think it was in 2019 in Nashville, we had 600,000 people there watching,
It's a
watching
huge
which players
event.
are going to go to which teams.
So yeah, I've covered the NFL draft. We were talking about the NFL draft. It's a huge event. I did it in New York City, and it was a huge, like it was like thousands of people. It's like lots of journalists. So it's crazy. So I think, and I'm sure that's the way you're gonna have to do it. Is like every event is gonna be different, and people have to. And each sport's gonna be different, and it's kind of almost a day by day decision because it's gonna depend of so many things. Rules are always changing because of COVID. So sometimes you can have spectators, sometimes you cannot have spectators. So like you said, Athens, if it was like a month later, maybe you couldn't even be able to do anything. So it's really like it's a huge challenge for all of us, for all the sports industry. And I mean, for all industries in general, I think, not just entertainment or not just sports, but for sure sports. And then we're going to have to be able to be flexible and creative even more than we all were before, I think.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Like, the word we keep using is like pivot. Like everybody, we're pivoting
Yes.
onto something else. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
With your husband, and let's hope for the best. And to be fast and for us to go back to maybe, or do you think we're gonna go back to this the normal like we used the normal that we know, like the world as we know before, or do you think it's gonna really be a change from now on? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not good at these predictions. I've been so wrong so far because I'm just like, okay,
But what's
let's,
your heart? What your heart tells
let's
you?
my heart tells me that yeah, we're gonna get a vaccine and we're gonna all get back to doing what we love. I have my heart set on 2021, like mid 2021. Like I just see us back by then. I mean, hopefully earlier. Until then, I think that we'll sports will slowly start to come back and start finding other ways to still deliver sports, but also deliver in a way that looks great for broadcast and is good for the players or the athletes and also for fans, whatever that may be. So I think it's every sport is trying different things, and I just I just really hope we get to do what we love soon.
Yeah, me too. I really hope that too. I got some questions for you, and one it's from Marcelo Ribeiro, and he was asking from all your Olympic games, which one you have the most memorable experience? I mean, the experience that you're never gonna forget. It was like because it's in your heart for any reason. I mean, which one it's like the most memorable Olympic Games for you?
Oh boy. I mean, they all have been so unique and amazing. They all have different things. I would say, like, Salt Lake 2002 is the very first one that comes to my mind, and it's not just because it was in my own country. It's the only one I've ever done in my country, and it's also not because it was my first time. It was just I just feel like, and I think probably a lot of people that work those games feel like there'll just never be another Salt Lake. I mean, it was the first time we had um, really like full support and a good budget, and it was easy living in Salt Lake City, and the fans were great, and it was just I was able to try a lot of new things that were not done in Sydney that we did do in Salt Lake. And so it was like the first time that we asked the athletes what music they wanted, and it was the first time we had our own cameras, and we had a stage at the bottom of the half pipe. We had the cross country venue or biathlon venue was so far in the country, and the general venue manager there came from Cirque du Soleil, so he was like very creative and open to ideas. And so like we actually had like people going from their parking lot to the venue via horse-drawn sleigh. We had wild bison walking around. Like it was just, we just really could think outside the box there, and anything we could come up with, we could do. So that's
That's
one.
awesome.
The other one I'm just gonna say, and it's not just because it's you and you have so many Portuguese followers, but Rio. Okay, Rio 2016. That was like that's a ridiculous amount of fun, and I really loved living there. We were there for 2.5 years, so my Portuguese should be better than than it is.
Rio and Salt Lake City, so it's a tie.
Yeah, Rio and Salt Lake City, I'd say, are a tie for first.
Awesome. I have a question also from Carla Sampaio. And she was asking, which also it's something that I was going to ask you, because you've been talking, I mean, you've been doing some, the Van Wagner company that you work for as executive producer. They do like an academy, start doing an academy not too long ago, because she was asking like, what do you need, how you can beat sports, to work for sports presentation, how you can prepare yourself to do it, what kinds of skills you need to have. And because of the academy, I thought it would be nice for you to kind of answer Carla, talking about what you need, what kind of skills you should have, but also because of the academy that Van Wagner is doing. So you can kind of explain a little bit and talk about the academy.
Yeah, sure. So we launched the Van Wagner Academy for Lausanne 2020 Youth Olympic Games. And the whole idea is because the Youth Olympic Games are essentially youth. I mean, they're up and coming young athletes. We thought that we should also have, up and coming young sport presentation professionals. And so we worked with 12 different schools in Switzerland, all around the, Geneva, Lausanne, Zurich area, and I think we had about 100 people in the academy, but 50 of them were from the schools, were students, and the other ones were just people that really wanted to learn a new skill or get involved in a new industry. So we had a team of coaches, and we ran a series of online workshops where the students had to kind of all do a task, and then like our coaches would grade them or help sort of guide them. But I think the most important work was like when we actually physically got there on site, and we were able to hold in-person workshops. But then also they actually fulfilled a role in each of the venues. So I mean, we had students from the Van Wagner Academy that were announcers, that were DJs, that were associate venue producers that wanted to learn how to write scripts or to show call. We had camera operators. I mean, we really had we had all different positions that people could try, and we're still in touch with a lot of the students now. And unfortunately, that was in January, and we had hoped to keep doing the academy for future youth games, not only just Olympic Games, but also Pan American Games. But obviously, we kind of lost the momentum from the pandemic. But we're still gearing up to bring the academy back, and it was a lot of fun and super fun to work with those guys. So let's see.
Christy, as a woman, in the sports industry, dominated, especially in your position as an international executive producer, it's really like it's an industry that is dominated by men. You, as a pioneer, because you started like more than 20 years ago, doing something there was not a lot of women doing it, and still to this day, 2 decades ago, we was already, like it was not a lot of women, and still now is the same. If you look around, it's not a lot of women in your position. Do you see, or do you feel like you opening doors for other women and the next generation of sports executive producers. So do you feel like somehow like you kind of helping other women like you to also succeed in this industry dominated by men?
I mean, that's a great question. I do get this. I get this question a lot about being a woman in the field in the sports industry. But I mean, and I hope that I am inspiring other women, especially young women that want to do this type of work. I really don't know if I am, but and I've never really felt limited. I've never felt limited. I never felt like I didn't get a job because I was a woman, or I never felt like I couldn't do anything because I was a woman. I don't think that it's held me back at all, at least to my knowledge. I don't think I feel like I've everything that I've really set out to do, that I really have wanted to do, I get to do, and I don't think that it's held me back at all, and I don't think that other young women should let it hold them back either. So,
Yeah, exactly. So I think your example, like, and what you're saying right now, it can help other women to also feel like, okay, I can do it. Why not? She's done it, and she's done it like when it was even more complicated and less women in the industry, and the women couldn't even speak up much. But that didn't hold you back, and you made it. And you had this amazing curriculum, amazing career. So it's a great example for women right now, especially right now in this moment of you trying to, become equal in every way possible in terms of career and everything. So, I mean, it is a great example. And I think it's definitely, you should actually have the knowledge of that you are a pioneer and you are really open doors for this new generation. And I think it's great for women to hear your story and to listen to what you have to say, and also like what you just said, that you didn't let that being a woman not letting you achieve your dreams and your passion, and and you made it. So I really think it's a great example.
thank you. That's really nice of you to say, but it's really not something that I've ever thought about. Like, I do occasionally, like, I'll find myself in a room, like a conference room or something, and I'm like, oh, okay, there's 20 men here, and I'm the only woman. But it's not something that I ever like pay attention to or notice right away. like it's for me, it's just a
No,
job.
I
It's
know,
not
but I
something
mean,
that's
because you're doing
uncommon.
like, so for you, it's so normal. That's your job, right? It's
Yeah.
normal for you. It's your job, and you're doing it, and you're just not even thinking about it. But I think it's great when you stop, and it happens. It's the same for me as well, and I get this question a lot, also to myself. And sometimes I don't realize, but then I'm like, okay, like now that I'm actually answering this question, I'm like, okay, I'm actually really open door. I've been open doors for the women in this industry that is really predominant, dominated by male and by men. And I think it is good that we talk about it, because it's really, we have to try to help this next generation of women that want to work in sports. And like, I feel the same, because I never really actually felt that I wasn't able to do anything because I was female, even though when I was at ESPN, I was the only woman for 10 years. I was the only woman in the Brazilian service that was announcer. I was the only woman
Yeah.
in the group of 13 men. And when I look back, for me, it was a normal thing. That was my job, and I never really thought about it. But it's good for us to talk about, because we can really do inspire other women. And I really think you're a true inspiration. And also as a woman, I feel that. So I'm sure other women will feel the same. And I'm glad that we'll be able to talk about this on my channel. Thank you. And before I let you go, I just want to ask you a question. If it's any sports or any event that you haven't done yet that you want to do it.
Um, let's see. I mean, what's better than the Olympic Games? So I feel so lucky that I've done so much already that I love to do. I can never, I mean, I never say no to any sort of, surf, skate, snow event. That's the heart for me is, surfing and skateboarding and snowboarding. So, I just, I don't know. I mean, no, I mean, I'm sure there's something, I've never done, what I would love to do is, I think the Red Bull events look really fun to me. I have lots of friends that work on those and I've gotten to attend them, but I've never gotten to like produce, a, a crashed ice or an air race or anything like that. I think that would be, they're just so creative and you never know what they're going to come up with next. So I think that would be really fun. And yeah, I mean, surfing, anything, surfing. Let's go. You can help me with
Anything
that, right?
related. So Nazaré, we should come to Nazaré. We should
Yeah.
do like it together.
Yes. Yeah.
And what's next for Chris and Nicolay? What's next for, I mean, for this next month? What do you have in mind in this pandemic world? Any sports? I mean, you're going to be waiting
Yeah.
for to see how things going to develop, or do you have anything already that you're working on in terms of events, sports events?
Yeah, I mean busy every day. I'm working on lots of things right now for Beijing 2022 for Olympic Games and the Winter Olympic Games in China. Obviously, we can't go there right now, so we're just doing lots of virtual work and gearing up for some other events that look like they're going to be a go for 2021 and. So that, like I said, there's lots of things that we're working on. I'm not really
But
sure that I
remotely,
should
everything is
say.
remotely right now.
Yeah, everything's remotely right now, but we, hope to and plan to be in person in some South American countries soon. I can work on my Spanish and yeah,
Portuguese.
who
Don't forget
knows?
Portuguese.
Portuguese also, Portuguese as well, but yeah and some French. Got some things going, working on my French. So let's see.
Oh
I don't
my
know.
God.
It's hard
So
to say,
you'll
but
be
yeah,
busy
anything,
and you're gonna be busy.
yeah, I'm busy enough. I'm just not as busy as, on the plane, getting to the airport and, it's a little bit less flying these days, but it's not bad to be home as well. So grateful for that.
Yeah, so we have to enjoy the time right now and be positive and keep yourself busy and try to maybe grow in other areas that you didn't have time before, and I'm sure you're doing that too. And pray for things to go back to normal or a new normal, but that
Yeah,
we can be together again, working sports and having fans and having lots of fun and doing what we love, right?
absolutely.
So, Christy, thank you so much for your time. Again, you're a true inspiration. Thanks for